Grab your beverages and turn up your interweb. Solving the world's problems 12 ounces at a time. It's Dudes and Beer. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Dudes and Beer podcast. I am Chris Jordan, your host, coming to you this week from fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. There's nothing quite like... Ooh, sorry about that. We aren't rolling a Babalu commercial tonight. We aren't rolling any commercials tonight. Mainly because our topic is so epic. It's so awesome. This upcoming week on the 20th is the scheduled Naruto run on Area 51. With us tonight is investigative reporter, former defense contractor, security contractor, arms dealer, all kinds of stuff. With 5x5 News, he is here tonight to talk to us about the Naruto run, some of the things that actually happen at what we know as Area 51, what is known in the intelligence industry and the defense industry as Groom Lake. The experimental test grounds that are out there, some of the things that are actually happening, actively happening. We're going to dispel a little myth. We're going to get into some myth like we always do. But welcome to the show tonight, Mike. How have you been? It's been way too long, man.
Well, I've had a little rocky road here recently, but
yeah.
I have, as you well know, we know what's happened there. But 5x5 is has been standing tall and doing the same thing we always do, which is just report exactly what is happening and what we see where we see it. From Dayton, we were the first one to get the video out on the Dayton shooting, and some of the other events that have happened around the country that I have a way of getting into, for lack of a better term. Way of getting into the information that's getting to the hands of the public, because that's what I like to do. Is I like to think that the truth is found, and by whatever means necessary, as long as it's legal, maybe gray area a little bit, but we'd like to get that in the hands of the people and sit back and we watch the show too. We sit there and we see what people do with the information, and sometimes it comes back and surprises us, and that's along the right track. So happy with what we're doing. I'm happy with what you're doing. You're doing a great job yourself there. I really enjoy watching your show.
Well, thank you so much. I greatly appreciate that, Mike. Like I told you earlier in our text messages back and forth and stuff, truth does not exist in a vacuum. It takes so many horses pulling forward to get that wagon out of the mud that we know as the media.
Right.
And it's hilarious to me, and not even hilarious. It's really more saddening for me to sit and watch the news at times like that and just see them run the same story as though it's news, and just keep hyping things and keep people on the edge of fear, on the edge of terror, in order to pump up ratings and make money. And it's like, that's horrifying. And it's bad journalism. There's just no other way around it. When you've got 6 families that control 99% of the media in this country, and you have us up there, myself, you, and all the others that are trying to get the crumbs left over with the 1% or whatever, and we're independent media, and we're doing what we can to get the truth out there. It's tough, but we find a way to do it, and we keep doing it. Yeah, man, most definitely. I mean, I actually had the big point of pride this last month. For the third year in a row, I went with my Talking Sound podcast and covered the Texas Association of Broadcasters Expo floor. But this was the first year that I didn't get in through the side door, where I was invited by a vendor or something like that to come check out some gear, and I got hey, come by and check out my booth. Here's a day pass to come check out my booth. And then I went in through that. I actively contacted the Texas Association of Broadcasters, and they gave me media badges. I was the only one there, because everybody else was media. I was the only one there covering the event as media. And I was like, wow,
The Texas Association of Broadcasters just accepted my podcast as official media. That's awesome.
I know when that happens, it's almost like it's a stepping stone. It's a feather in your hat.
It was. Man.
I remember I created the American Press Association a long time ago. When I created that, I started bringing in people as independent reporters underneath me, and everyone was freelance and everything because we didn't have any money. We said let's create this association and see where it goes. And I remember the first time. My first event, believe it or not, was just a concert, and I was just surprised to say, I'm Mike Turber with APA, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, you need credentials? I was like, yeah. And they said, okay, just fill this out, and give us a copy of your press pass. I'm like, okay, well, let me go home and make one.
Yeah.
Then I came back, and boom, there I was. I was like, okay, I'm somebody now.
Yeah, exactly. And when those things happen, and those things happen through security protocols, they happen through all kinds of stuff, and that's kind of what we're talking about tonight.
Absolutely.
One of my favorite things about you, Mike, is that you, of course, lay out the truth. You dispel the myths, and much like we did with the Mandalay Bay shooting, I want to do the same thing with the Naruto run, and lay out what my hypotheses were. And I know for those of y'all that listen to the show, I use the word hypotheses in these terms instead of conspiracy or theory, for a very good reason. And we'll get into that in just a moment. My hypothesis, there were three ways in which this Storm Area 51 event started. Because I hadn't seen anything about the actual person that started this. We'll get into that in just a minute, folks, because Mike has some great information about that. But my hypothesis was these people that were putting on the event in Rachel, that was the concert that got canceled, maybe they were doing it as like a test bot. Like, hey, we need to get some funding, maybe we can get Coca-Cola involved, but they want to know that we have a certain level of interest and that we can provide a certain number of butts through the gate. Like 20,000 people, we can get some money. So they put it out there. This is just my hypothesis, folks, that they put it out there as a test bed. And then when interest happened, it was like, oh, look, 250,000 people. Well, let's put on a show. That wasn't the case. My other two hypotheses were perhaps with it being an upcoming election, maybe it was a Russian bot to see how many people in the general public would be willing to dissent against the federal government. You know what I mean? Pretty valid in this political climate and everything that's been going on the last few years, or at least going on according to court cases and stuff like that. If you know what I mean. True. It's my final hypothesis was so much more nefarious, and I was so happy to hear you dispel this before we started this episode, Mike. But my final hypothesis was, if you remember, about 3 weeks ago, I posted an article, everybody, stating that a memorandum had come out from the FBI. The conspiracy theory is now considered a form of domestic terrorism, which is one of many reasons why, Mike, I've been using the word hypothesis instead of theory for a long time for that very reason, man. For that very reason, I was like, it is not gonna be long. So we need to reclaim the concept of the scientific method. Things start with a hypothesis, then it's a theory that proves that, and then if the theory is proved again, then it becomes law. That's how it works. What I have here is hypotheses. They are not theories, folks. They're hypotheses. And with that memorandum coming out, I was like, oh my God, they put this bot out so long ago. Imagine if they were actively using this as a means by which to get, because the only reason people would be coming is because they believe in a conspiracy theory.
Well, truth is stranger than fiction in a lot of ways.
It was like, hey, what better chance to mass label 250,000 people without having to use an algorithm? Anything like that. You can mass swath their data at one time in one place. That's crazy.
Absolutely.
So with those three hypotheses out there that I just put out, Mike Turber, what's the real dope? What's the real skinny on the Naruto run?
I'm more interested in your hypotheses. I'd like to explore those one by one. I mean, my stuff gets boring really quick. Your stuff sounds exciting. Let's go your route. I mean, I just need a beer. The guy just handed me a beer like 20 minutes ago, too, and I drank it. It's gone, but that was awesome.
Yeah, it's like I was telling you before the show, I see things like a magic eye image where it's like you're going to look at some gross detail, then you're going to or fine detail, then you're going to look at the gross picture. You know, you got to go between the two, and you got to be able to flex and shift and see how this stuff works, because it really is a machine of information putting stuff out there, folks. So whenever you see these three threads, like, they were not hard to see. And we talked about that just a little while ago, Mike, and we'll get into that tonight, folks. The fact that when you learn to decode this stuff, when you learn to see it happening in front of your eyes, it's like a flare going off. It's literal, like when things started going down 2 years ago with the disclosure movement, I literally put a timeline on it. I was like, within the next year, folks, we will hear from the federal government. This will happen. And then sure enough, by Christmas time, we were getting reports from the Navy. Luis Elizondo had come out with his stuff.
So glad you
tapes were there. Whether they're alien or not, we don't know, but they're unidentified objects. And we've spent billions of dollars over the last decade following these things and trying to research them. Boom.
Well, the good
there it is.
Tonight, I can help you out with that particular subject. And we can actually reveal on your show,
let's do it,
if you like, what those were.
Oh, yeah. No, exactly. And that's what I want to get into, because, number one, if there was anything of that nature at Groom Lake, Area 51, whatever you want to call it, that was moved long ago.
Maybe not.
Well, I mean, that would just be, in my mind, it would have been moved in like 92 when they were forced to disclose Area 51 officially when the lawsuit happened.
Yeah, that's true. And then
that would just make sense to me.
And
if you were going to have alien artifacts, alien technology that you're reverse engineering, you immediately get it out of the black site when it's no longer a black site.
Well, a lot of those stories date back all the way to Roswell.
Oh, yeah.
And where did they take the bodies and all these other things? And I'm sure people are just sitting there, guys, get man, we got so much to cover tonight. This might be a 3-part show. We do. It's going to be good to cover. So, you're in all kinds of categories. So you got the right guy on board. So I'll try to cover as many bases as possible, and we can rock and roll here.
Well, and amongst that, we'll get into the technology of the internet. We'll get into this this concept of side stream media, using mainstream media for disinformation. That's all part of the story from the get-go. And it's regular standard practice.
It is.
So to me, all the stuff like I was talking about in my final hypothesized scenario, that stuff's going to be covered anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
It is. It's just part of the process.
Yeah, exactly.
Method of determining things and data collection points and all the different things that our government does and other governments do. The thing about some of the subjects that we cover is that sometimes these things happen purely natural on their own, and we don't have to do anything. It's like, okay, well, let's just collect data points. We don't have to start this one. It's already started. Let's just collect data. And that does happen. I didn't work in that area, but I do know essentially how that process works and what happens with the data and why it's important and why it is necessary. It is actually necessary to understand that if something happens, how is the public going to react?
Yeah.
A classic example is one you just brought up when Louis revealed what he did back in December of 2017. Well, I'm going to send you. This is totally unprompted, but I may send you a screenshot of something here in just a minute that when you see it, it'll blow your mind. You lead. You pick which subject to go into, and I'll just go in there with you.
Well, let's get into a little bit behind Groom Lake to begin with. Let's go into some of the history of it, what it was built for to begin with. I mean, we all know the story of Roswell, and maybe things went there before they went to Fort Hood as a final destination and beyond that. But we're most everybody, I would think, in the audience at least, is familiar with the work of Bob Lazar, the first whistleblower to come out from Area 51. And say, like, we were there.
That interview.
And in my mind was totally vindicated about 3 years ago when the element that did not exist was found.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It was found. They were like, this can't exist. It doesn't exist. He's a crazy person. No way. It's on the periodic table now, folks. Look it up.
Yep, there it is.
So
it have his name on it.
We know, Lazarium, I believe it's called. And, we know these things. These things are general knowledge. But what a lot of people don't know is the history behind the base, what the base is used for. Like, a lot of people were like, oh, my God, what are they going to do? I was like, you don't understand. Yes, they have a standing shoot-to-kill order.
However, they really do. They really do.
Absolutely they do. No doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah, and they have seismic sensors out there. There's all kinds of different sensors, laser sensors. There's sound sensors. I mean, you name it. If any sensor that's ever been made is in use at this base. Also with autonomous aircraft that actually fly around the base whenever there's a hit, instead of actually sending trying to scramble planes like they used to.
Yeah,
they send these things now.
Yeah, exactly. But, you can keep those things in the air 24/7. Nobody will even see them or hear them. Much less if you even have a satellite floating nearby, which I guarantee you they do. But and that's just it. A lot of people were like, "Oh, do you?" I was like, number one, if 250,000 people show up, do you realize how many soldiers it would actually take with a really, really good aim to take over a standing wave of 250,000 people charging a gate?
Well, they moved some equipment there about 10 days or so ago that would cause a really, really bad situation for anyone that would want to go any direction, and they would know which direction.
Wait, was it LiDAR equipment?
Yes, sir.
Hot damn. Absolutely. That's what I've said the whole time. I was like, why would you even deal with a conscientious objector? Why would you deal with one person on the fence that doesn't want to pull the trigger? That's going to cause the dude next to him to doubt it. Not only that, but even with a standard 25-round military clip and two of them back-to-back, man, you better have one shot, one kill action.
Well, the thing is, this gives, exactly. And then the thing about utilizing non-lethal technology is Taser's involved. So Taser has some of their equipment there. And also, which is no longer Taser, it's Acom now, but I still call them Taser. I used to be a Taser distributor. And so you've got them there. You've got several other companies that want to utilize or test this stuff. So in some ways, in the back of these guys' minds that are there, you've got people from companies that are using that area as a test bed. Well, it is you could just call it the Nevada test bed. That's what it is.
It's exactly what it is.
So that's what the facility actually originally was to begin with, and so now they've got all kinds of opportunities to do it. So if a group of people start running down from Rachel at any minute, they're going to find out. They probably don't want to do that.
Sweet, we have a real field test. Look at that.
Exactly.
Well, and that's exactly what I said on the show. Was make no mistake, people. We talk to people like John Hall all the time, Dr. John Hall. About satellite technology that does this. We're talking about the people from Cuba and China, the ambassadors that have been attacked by that stuff. I was like, make no mistake, there would be 3 electronic attacks that immediately happen. Number one, all communications will go dead. All feeds from inside will be dead, and all data will be swathed. Immediately, it will all be scooped. Not only
oddly
that,
enough, their cell phones are really difficult to do that with, but they have to physically actually handle it. I have a device made by a company called Cellbrite, which is out of Israel, that is utilized to do that. The FBI was using that in Las Vegas. I have one. I'll show it to you sometime.
Oh, sure. Well, and I guarantee you that there's just an electronic net that they can throw over it.
Sure.
That just scrambles
you can buy
everything.
One yourself.
Yeah.
You can buy one yourself for $300.
So that'll happen while you're running to the gate. Once you hit their 1,500-yard barrier from the fence, whatever they put up, 5 feet from the fence, you're immediately going to fall to the ground and feel like your body is on fire. And at that point, you're going to hear the voice of Allah come into your head, just like the soldiers did in Iraq back in the early 90s, where they all heard the voice of Allah at the same time say, surrender your weapons. And they did it.
You never seen so much underwear being pulled off at one time in your life.
Yeah. Whatever their message is just for you, you're going to hear it. And those are the three things that will simultaneously happen. Boom.
Yeah, that signal is called the signal from God.
Yeah.
Is what it's called.
Yeah, the voice of God.
That's the voice of God. That's what it is. And the other voice of God is the voice of the AWACS, sending down, coordinates on where to drop, little presents for everybody. And that was the original intent. And then this thing can be broadcast from so many different types of apparatus that it's amazing.
Well, and
absolutely
I've told people for the last few years, if you want to know about this stuff, I mean, we sound like crazy people talking about it. Go follow Defense One. Check out Defense One. Yeah. It's basically like the popular mechanics for the military. And I'm here to tell you, folks, like they released about 8 months ago that, they got a laser that will vibrate your skull and put any message they want into there. Yeah. So this technology is there.
Absolutely ridiculous. And the other thing, too, is follow any DARPA project. Now, a lot of people don't. A lot of people think DARPA is a very super secretive agency, blah, blah, blah. And it is. But at the same time, you can join it.
Yeah, DARPA's as out in the public as you can get, man. When there are college kids building robots for DARPA competitions,
and there's internal to DARPA, you have the DARPA Open Catalog. The Open Catalog is something that everyone can basically go into and kind of check things out, and you could become a beta tester and stuff like this, and work with it. And then you may be approached at some point in time. There's a select group in there that might have some projects internally that's called DARPA Hard projects. And if something becomes DARPA Hard, that means that someone needs some technology that is going to be way out there as far as on the fringe of what's currently available in the marketplace and in the technology bin. And so what they do is they start recruiting people from different areas of specialties just to bring them in. And sometimes they bring in people that have nothing to do with that subject, but have to do with the fringe area that they need to acquire. And that person solves that problem, and then they're on their merry way, not having any clue that they just solved the problem on a DARPA Hard that will eventually become some completely different technology that they were even looking at.
And you know what's funny, just to bring that into light, folks, my wife is probably one of the biggest skeptics in the world, and that's why I love her. I'm a believer at heart, with a skeptical mind. She's just a straight-up skeptic, and I'm cool with that. She needs it proven. And she's always held the fact of there is no way that they could keep some ongoing conspiracy of ignorance going on. And I was like, you think so? She's like, yeah. I was like, go ask somebody that worked on Trinity.
Yeah.
There were people that were building parts for 10 years that had no idea. They had a full-time job. They had benefits. They had friends at work. They had no idea why they were building what they were building. And down the road was another plant.
Speaking about Groom Lake and what happened there or whatever, we actually, in one of the odd scenarios, we had, and there's two quick things I can tell you. One was all of the titanium for the SR-71 was actually purchased from Russia without Russia knowing exactly where it was going.
Yeah,
so
it was.
15 to 17 aircraft. Yep, sure was. So that's one. And there's another thing is that why would you build one? The KH series of spy satellites, which I'm sure John knows quite a bit about. The KH series, Keyhole or Keenan, is the what the satellites are.
Yep.
they look amazingly like the Hubble telescope. I think I may have mentioned this before to you. I don't remember if we did it on the show or not, but they look amazingly like the Hubble Space Telescope. And there's a reason for that. It's because why would you build one Hubble Space Telescope when you can use the dollars coming in that are going to actually increase the technology for that telescope and use it for free?
Here's one better for you. I was maybe in junior high when the Galileo probe went up. I remember doing a report for 8th grade science about that and what it was going to do to tell us about the rings of Saturn and the Saturnarian system out there. But I remember being amazed that, wow, they really, really fixed that warp lens very fast.
Yeah, they kind of did.
Did they just have custom-made lenses kicking around, like $1 billion lens just sitting in a warehouse? Yeah, they do, because there's more than one satellite that uses that lens.
Yeah, and here's the thing about that. That lens is ground at a shape that was actually designed to be utilized in part of the Keenan series. Well, the two other ones that they built, they actually, the National Reconnaissance Offices who managed that project, National Reconnaissance Office actually called NASA a few years ago, and then anybody can look this up because this has been leaked out for a while now. It should still be out there. They kind of cleaned it up, but they didn't. But National Reconnaissance Office called NASA and said, "Hey, guess what? Yeah, I mean, your Hubble's about to go down, or your 25th anniversary, blah blah blah. Yeah. It's about to shut down. But would you like 2 more for free?"
Yep.
They're like, "What?"
Yeah. Well, no,
we've got 2 more sitting here, and we'll give them to you. We'll get them over to you, and but they had the same problem with me.
Here's point of fact to it. Number one, if you look up, you'd be hard pressed to find a civilian pilot of a NASA rocket ever. Mm-hmm. It's never happened. They've always been from the military. And that's mainly because numerous missions, especially with STS, the Shuttle Transit System is what that stands for, folks, for all you nerds out there like me, or aspiring nerds. A good 65% of the missions that were flown by any STS were labeled under Department of Defense. They were either maintaining a government satellite, something like that. But more importantly than that, folks, if you vividly remember these things like I do because, I'm a nerd. Remember what the problem was with Hubble? It was nearsighted.
Yep.
Meaning it could severely nearsighted, which means it could only see things close up.
They wouldn't tell you how close.
They wouldn't tell you that we could read Titleist on a golf ball.
Yeah. That way. They were looking at half centimeter to 1 centimeter resolution on it. Thing.
I was in 7th grade when this happened, and I'm like, anybody else noticing that? Anybody
that was
else
almost
be
as
in
big
on
a
that?
mistake as when we sent a probe to Mars, and everyone was wondering why is this probe completely missing the planet? Is because they did the calculation in English rather than metric, and it's like, oh my God, how could you make such a mistake? And that's what happened on these 2 satellites. They sat there, and the lenses have to sit at a certain angle. You can't have the lens actually sitting in the satellite as it's carted around and moved. So that's 2 separate shipments every time it goes somewhere. So these lenses are sitting there, and they had to basically make the camera or another object that they installed that was about the size of a refrigerator that would actually take the deformities and using algorithms and calculations and other spherical lens type effects, curve the original bad shape into the right one. But they never would tell you exactly what the original problem was. When they said it was nearsighted, they didn't say it was nearsighted by, like it could see something 160 miles away, but not
by design.
Billion.
That it was nearsighted by design. And that happened because, there's been a standing order with our U.S. military, be it MK Ultra with the CIA and other black programs, be it the creation of the famous hover saucer helicopter. We've used the Canadian military and intelligence agencies and manufacturing for years to make parts and things like that. So that's exactly how it happened, how standard got mixed up with metric on $1 billion satellite. But
hey, it just boggles the mind. It's like, okay, at some point in time, the U.S. just needs to ditch the English system completely and get away from it.
Hey, calm it down. Calm it down, Mike. We don't espouse
you know
that on this
right
show.
The
rest of the world can gladly change to us.
Oh, there you go. We'll make the rest of the world. There you go. Hey, let's take the path of least resistance.
You know, that's of everything in the world right now, Mike. That's the cause I'm standing for. That's the one I'm going to take a stand for.
I can get behind that. I love a challenge. That's a challenge right there. I love a challenge.
The Earth could be flat. I don't care, but I'll be damned if I'm going to metric.
Well, don't. Yeah. Well, hey, I got an idea. You need to interview Eric Dubay and then have me sneak on the show and watch what happens.
Okay.
That would be a trip.
So let's start getting into a little bit of actual Groom Lake.
Sure.
What it's actually about, because like we were talking about the defenses there, and like we said, they are where things like LIDAR are tested. They are the proving grounds for all this high technology. So, like, I guarantee you, they got stuff like written on the ground outside of buildings so that satellites can be tested. And like, yep, we can read it. We can read the message outside of Building 3 loud and clear. So let's get into a little bit of what is going on outside of Rachel, Nevada.
Let's do what you wanted to do. Let's go through the history a little bit.
Sure.
The Groom Lake, which is we refer to Groom Lake or the ranch or what have you. Sometimes we just say Dreamland, but it's not really Dreamland anymore because that just sounded more like a Lucas, limited project or something.
Yeah.
But the Area 51, what a lot of people don't know is it's really not an area on a map. A lot of people believe that, and it was actually Area 15. Somehow somebody flipped it. I guess somebody was dyslexic when they saw it or whatever. But and then there's some other things, and it was brought out in the CIA released thing a long time ago. But internally, it's called Groom Lake. It's just like some other internal names they use for like Janet Airlines. It's just everybody uses an internal name for it, but the internal name is just actually what it was. It's always been referred to as Groom Lake, and no one's really referred to it internally as anything other than that until the CIA, put their document out. I think it was I don't remember what it was actually, but there was some document CIA came out with, and they did that. And CIA also coined the term conspiracy theories. So that kind of CIA has a history of putting these things out there. Well, we don't use CIA terms. But in other areas of the government, they don't really like to do that. So when the CIA came out with conspiracy theory, we decided we wouldn't use that term. We're going to call them spicy acorns. So anytime there's a conspiracy theory, we just call it spicy acorn, which is an anagram of the word conspiracy theory. A little inside knowledge there for you.
I like it.
Yeah, spicy acorns, and everybody's like, "Oh, spicy acorn sounds like a really good dish. Can I have that?" Sure, you can have all the spicy acorns you want. So that was that, and Palmy Airport is what it's on a map. If you're a pilot, it's referred to as KXCA, which is the designation for the airport there. So that's that. But its use became famous back when Kelly came out. Skunk Works and all that, and Kelly came out with U2. And the U-2 needed a very long runway because the way the plane's effectively a huge glider.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of 3 planes wide. It's got like a 52-foot wingspan or something like that. Or no, right. More than that. Yeah,
it's a ridiculous wingspan in the ratio of it. And when you watch this thing land, you actually have to have chase vehicles. The pilot cannot see the ground, so a car or a truck or whatever has to get behind it with a radio on and actually tell it what it's doing because the pilot has no idea. So he's like it tells him the feet and how close he is to the ground, and if his left wing is up, right wing's up, or whatever, because it becomes spatially disoriented when you're trying to concentrate on the instruments and you can't really just look left and right. So. Interesting thing there. So the U-2 was the first program that was really put into play there, and that was Kelly's baby. And then other projects became, were put in there. Obviously, the Oxcart was the program designation for the Blackbird, and that was another Kelly baby. And Kelly, when he started working on the SF-71, he had so many barriers, but the barrier that was removed was Area 51, Groom Lake, because that became the just go-to facility. And a lot of times there's been some controversy as to which base actually runs it. Is it Edwards that runs it? Is it Nellis that runs it? It's pretty much a shared responsibility between the two bases. Nellis runs a certain aspects of it. For some part of it, it deals with TRACON and ATC with air traffic control and en route stuff there of air flights flying over it. And then you have Edwards, which actually is the controlling base, which is odd because it's not even in Nevada, but it's part of it, and that's part of its test range. So that's where the site came from, and it was part of the I think the Atomic Energy Commission or someone like that was the original curator of the property, so to speak. But it was quickly reconfigured, utilized. And when they went to look for, I can't remember the name of the officer that went. There's an officer that was sent out to do the site to look for it, and once they gave it to go, it was like in March or whatever, January, February, March of 1955, and then boom, July, it's open. That's how fast they got to move back then. They can't do that today, but that's how fast they moved back then.
Yeah.
And he basically was looking for a base that was somewhat secluded, that had at least some access to it, but also had a mountain range around it that would keep out prying eyes. So, of course, back in 1955, they weren't thinking too much about, they were thinking about satellites and things like this, but nowhere near like they would later. So a lot of Area 51.
It also wasn't the case that a whole bunch of people had access to 4x4 vehicles and were off-roading and out mountain climbing in their spare time and hiking and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then fast forward to today, and you got drones, you got people that are flying, drones over there, and those are the ones we don't hear about because the drones are just destroyed. They've got a gun that they actually aim at the drone, and it takes over the drone, and just wherever you point the gun, that's where the drone goes. It's pretty cool to watch. So
that's
video out there
great. Oh, my God. I need one of those for my neighbor's stereo.
I could tell you, if you have a problem with the neighbors playing their stereo, there's a lot of cool tricks. We'll talk off air on what to do with that.
Yeah, let's do, because I've been thinking. I've been putting my brain to stuff.
You're going to be laughing your ass off on some of those. It gets to be hilarious on some of the. Because I'm a prankster. I do prankster by heart.
Now, you actively, just to backtrack for a minute, it just dawned on me that we didn't really get into the cause of the Naruto run to begin with. You actively know the person that started this movement, right?
Well, well, let's not get into too much of that.
Have connection to the person.
I have connection to him. I even messaged him before this show to see if he had any comment.
Yeah.
But we'll just say his name. His initials are MR, and I'm not sure how involved he wants to be in this.
I'm not asking. No. I'm not asking you to give away people's names. Things. I'm just saying, like, you're connected to him. You have connection to him. You have knowledge of how this thing got started to begin with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And he came on the radar. What happened was it was around 2:00 in the morning. He made a post of essentially like a meme and some other things, and they were just kind of talking. It's like, well, they can't stop us, if this many people came, blah blah blah, and it just grew. It's like everyone's like, that's a great idea, and why now is to do it would be a great time, but then it took on its own life, and it pretty much got out of his hands. The FBI went to his house, talked to him.
Wow.
The guy lives in Bakersfield, and so they went there, and you get a knock on your door, and the FBI's there, and they're like, "Hey, you got a problem." Yeah. And essentially, keep in mind that he's telling people to
go storm a federal base.
Yeah, to go storm one of the most secure facilities in the world.
Well, not necessarily secret, but secure.
Yeah. Well, even then, it doesn't look secure because it looks like it's so big and so massive that people look at it and they think, "Wow, we could just run in if we get their attention." How many white trucks do they have running around this base?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, well, they know where you are at all times because these seismic sensors that are in the ground there, basically map out any sound vibrations, and they can tell exactly how many people are where. Anything over a certain pounds. It's just like at your house when you have your motion sensors, you can dial it down so that your dogs and cats don't run it off. Well, in the early days of setting that system up, they had a lot of problems. They had so many false calls, but they dial it in now. It's pretty great. And they have cameras that automatically turn to the motion and zoom in and rule out. And they've got, and I'll tell you this is, I don't know if it's ever been released, but there's artificial intelligence that's built into that security system that actually tells the system if it's a true threat or not.
Oh, so I would not doubt that whatsoever. They utterly have algorithms and AI that spot weapons under clothing, all kinds of stuff.
Yep, exactly.
And I mean,
they
can tell whether or not your heart rate is elevated. They can tell whether or not, like, all kinds of stuff just biologically from infrared information, everything.
Yeah. Well, back in the early days, trying to get people to go there and move there, Kelly was not having a good time. So what they did was the front gate, they had a big metal thing put up there. This is not known to the public. You won't find anywhere. But they had this gate that was put up to make it look like a ranch, and they called it Paradise Ranch. And people were brought out there to encourage them to go live there. So they had the underground base housing was put into play. There's like X number of floors that go down, and that's not like no one would not think that isn't there, but yes, there.
Yeah.
So they brought people there, and then they were showing the underground facilities and how nice it was. And then the above ground facilities, which are very sparse, so people couldn't really tell what was really going on there. And people wouldn't move there. Still, they still had a problem. So that's when they initiated some rather inventive ways of getting people there. So Janet Airlines was born quite a while ago, and it's a secret airline that I was almost arrested in front of a few months or about a year ago.
Oh, wow.
The cop tried to arrest me. I'll send you the video on that. I actually have it on video.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, so I was actually right at the entrance of Janet Airlines, and here comes the cop, and of course the cop's like trying to figure out who I am, what I'm doing. Of course, when a cop asks you your social security number instead of your driver's license, that's when you know that
they're looking for something different.
Yeah, they're looking for something different, or they figured out who I was, and they're like, okay, well, all right, well, let's verify some information. I had reason to be there.
Yeah.
So, long story longer, they were, every day they were flying people over there. Now they have 737s that just leave Las Vegas, and so you can, to live there, you basically, you don't have to hardly anymore. You can still live in Las Vegas, and you wake up, and gee, it's the same amount of time that people would take a car drive to work around where I live down here in Ontario. And you're, next thing you know, you're at Groom Lake or Homey Airfield or Homey Field, and you go to work. I mean, how many people go to work and go home on a plane every day? Pretty cool. But at the same time, it becomes cumbersome. It does. I know enough good people that work out there, and it takes its toll. So they rotate people, and ACOM that runs that they have a very good track record of keeping people happy. So that's it on that. But as they moved down through some of the projects over the years, it got a little bit more. Once the conspiracy things started coming into play, there were some objects that they were testing out there that just people from afar would see them, and then it became rather bizarre.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of things come up, and I'm sure you probably have a few questions on those.
Well, and I mean, of course, the first thing that comes to mind for me was the full disclosure of the actual location back in, and I don't quote me here, folks. I'm not going to take the time to Google it while I'm online and here in my hotel room. It's a little rough to be recording and be surfing the internet on the same computer on Sketch Internet. But if I'm not mistaken, it was right up around 1992 when Bill Clinton was forced to finally disclose the actual existence of the Groom Lake facility, Area 51, because local residents had taken up a lawsuit against the government for the burning of exotic materials. And that were undisclosed, were never disclosed, ever. It was never made known what materials were being burned in trenches. And it was quite obviously, like stealth materials, things like that from crashed drones from the Have Blue project back when it was called Dreamland, stuff like that.
Yep.
Well,
I can narrow that down for you slightly.
Sure.
96 was the year that most of that occurred.
Okay.
We got a note on our desk that Clinton was getting curious about some certain things, and a president is the only person in the country which has access to anything and everything, and there is no closed door. But the situation is this: the president still has an NTK rule, which means need to know.
Need to know, so, because he's a temporary employee, technically.
Exactly. Effectively, he's got a 4-year stint. Of course, Clinton had 8 years. But you got a 4-year stint, and he becomes a possible liability after the fact, because who knows if the guy's going to get dementia or some other stuff,
and just start rattling stuff off.
Right. But actually, I'm surprised you mentioned that citizen lawsuit is true.
Yeah, that was the first gavel on the bench. This place exists. You're not crazy for saying it does.
Right. And the problem with that is they were. I don't know if you know this or not. The information I'm about to give, I don't know if it's out there or not.
Go ahead.
But they were digging trenches that were connecting trenches between these holes that were bigger than football fields. These things were huge. These things were huge. They had the tennis court size ones that they started with, and what they were trying to do was they were what's called tilted. They were tilted burns. That's not the term. Somebody that knows about how they burn things and how they let the runoff go a certain way will know more about this than I do. I just know from looking at it, it was a hole cut, a square cut out of the surface of the ground, and it's a salt lake. So when you burn it, you're also melting the salt, which created an issue. But it also created a glass type surface. So what was happening was you were burning the sand and the salt and all this different stuff, and they cut it at an angle so that anything that was burned would drain. So they had these drainage things that were going different directions, and they were trying to get it to drain away from the runway, away from the living quarter areas, away from radar facilities, or anything that would be affected by electromagnetic spectrum.
Well, or where personnel may be generally going for general maintenance, things like that.
Right. So exactly, and
believe it or not, they don't want to kill their employees, folks. Believe it or not.
They really don't. Yeah,
they spend a lot of money training them.
Yeah, and thanks to them, I haven't had a cold in God knows how many years. So, I love the little inoculations you get. You have to get them every 10 years rather than 1 or 2.
So is that the blue one or the yellow one, Doc?
Oh, it's the red or the blue one. What are you talking about? It's like Matrix things going on.
Yeah, I know, right?
Come around the corner and said, "Hey, which one do you want?" And I was like, "Wait, where's Lawrence Fishburne at?"
Which one makes me feel like that guy?
Oh my God, we don't want to go there. That's sort of a whole other method part of my life, current fun included. So you got January, whatever year it was.
96.
Well, when we got a note. Let me back up a little bit. We got a note on our desk that was actually from NBC. That note was sent to a university. Now, this is some cool information. This is some trivia here. So this is when you find out who's hardcore really knows what the hell they're talking about. This note was actually sent to the University of Washington and was supposed to go there, or supposed to come to us, but went there and then came to us. So that University of Washington, we're like, why is this labeled to go to the University of Washington, which is a private university in Washington, D.C. proper, inside the brownstone area, the whole 9 yards. So we're sitting there going, all right, well, why is this labeled there? And it's written to this university, and it's written all out. Well, come to find out that university is the holder of the National Security Archives, which, when you put it out there, says U.S., United States, George Washington University / NSA. And so it was rerouted to 9800 Savage Road at Fort Meade, Maryland. So that address is actually, if anyone wants to look that up, just Google Map it, and you'll find 9800 Savage Road where it goes. And so it was rerouted there. So we're looking at it thinking, well, what the, that's part of my language. What are we supposed to do with this? And so we're reading this thing and going, okay, is this something that we say no on? And that, because you have a stamp there. This girl named Teresa back in the day, she was one. Just anytime something comes through that door, I want to see, because you would get like 100 to 500 letters a day from people demanding stuff, and it's a rubber stamp. No, return to sender, address unknown, address unknown, all these different things. So people that were sending back requests for information back then, before FOIA was like really, really, really okay, we're just getting their letters back in the mail. But when you get one that mentions President Clinton is going to be on a TV show, and President Clinton is actually the person that wants this information, you got to pay attention to it. And so that's where that came from. So Clinton, one of the things he wanted to do was find out if aliens were at Area 51. That was one of the first things on that letter.
Yeah.
From the White House.
And famously, the quote goes, well, if they did know anything about aliens, they didn't tell me anything about it either. Yep,
that's true. And then there's another quote, too, that says, what do we not know and when will we know it? And President Clinton says, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. So, but the thing about it is that yes, he would be able to get that information, and it would be given to him, because a lot of people believe the Roswell incident, that aliens were there, and then all this different stuff happened there. But it actually was the actual object that was there was a balloon, and it's not a weather. It wasn't a weather balloon. It was from Project Mogul, and Project Mogul was a project back in the day that I before I was even born.
Yeah.
I got to tell you about Greenland too. Remind me, because that goes into Project Mogul. But Project Mogul was a project that basically was a series of weather balloon type balloons. There were aerial platforms so that they could monitor what would happen during a nuclear explosion, because they had the 6 guys, 5 guys plus a cameraman standing underneath. These bombs are going off at 1,500 feet, and the guys are just standing there going, oh, yeah, it's great. Oh, it's no big deal. And, of course, they all died from cancer, which is odd that they all died from cancer in the age of 80. They were all in their 80s, pretty much. And so you think, well, they all got cancer, but they all lived a longer life than the average person did. So no harm, no foul, right? Well, there's still harm, still foul. But anyway, so that letter came through the system, and a return letter was sent. Now, the return letter, I can't say who wrote the letter, but let's just say the return letter was sent to Clinton, to the White House, postal, whatever they call that thing. And it was comedy. It was pure comedy. And so at some point in time down the road, I'm sure when President Clinton writes his last memoirs or whatever, he may start revealing some more stuff. I hope that he prints this letter in his book. So, Mr. Clinton, if you ever listen to this, please print that letter, because it's hilarious.
If you listen to it, good God, man, leave a comment on the website for a brother.
Yeah, please do. Please,
give me a little more clout. Come on.
We know you secretly follow us, and I know you're a Turber stalker, so...
I would have voted for you, but there was this dude running from prison in Texas, and I couldn't just not do it.
No doubt. So that thing is pure humor, and it basically goes into Roswell, and that's why I bring up some of the stuff in Greenland. It actually brings up a place in Greenland, and the reason why Trump wanted to buy Greenland is actually kind of interesting. But so anyway, so fast forward, and then so he actually gets the information he's looking for, and some of the information was disseminated, and it took a little while. EPA got pissed off back when there was something going on. This is when I was still doing stuff, and there's this 161 page or 180 page document that came in that was from EPA that was part of some storage thing or whatever, and there was a problem at Now, just so everybody knows, I'm not claiming I was stationed at Groom Lake. Okay, just I want to be clear
not
about
at all.
That. I'm not claiming that at all. I do have knowledge of Groom Lake. I have knowledge of what goes on there and stuff like that. That I can say.
Well, you were deeply involved in security contracting for a long time, and in the arms industry, in the security industry, things like that. So, as a contractor to begin with, especially with contacts with people like Lockheed Martin, stuff like that, the people who ran Skunkville, like that's a third of the facility. Smooth.
Exactly.
So
it's actually more than that. When it comes to the intelligence part, I'm pretty sure it'd be over 50% when you got like Booz Allen and some of these other companies, and then you come in as a little guy who's pretty much a one-man band, and the moment you get the bids for these contracts and the bid numbers come out, they say bid number blah blah blah, and you can see the next bid number, right? Well, if the next bid number is only increased by one digit, and you receive a bid and you see yours, you're like, I'm the only person on the bid. So you're like, wait a second, this isn't a bid. This just goes straight to contract.
Hey, you trying to get me to lower my own price against myself? Oh no! There he is.
Oh yeah, that sure happened there. I guess I said something wrong.
Hey, I wouldn't be afraid to be like Art Bell and just be netted off like that.
I'm gonna look around. I'll see. I thought I was pretty cautious.
No. Well, and that's just it. You know, like it's kind of funny, folks. Like I'm leaving in the fact that we got cut off because I remember back in the day, Art Bell talking about stuff and lines would just go dead. His guest would be gone. These things happen. They listen. They listen. It was shortly. It was after I advertised our first episode together. Actually, that upcoming Tuesday after we were on the air, if you remember, I said that I had a huge uptick in my LinkedIn profile and that I had like 85 or 100 people that week look at me, and 70% of them were from the Department of Defense and FBI and stuff like that. And it was like that's interesting.
Yeah, it is. I'm sitting there. I'm looking at my phone to see if I look at my notifications to see if something like came in.
Yeah,
like
see if something came in as a priority and knocked you off. Yeah, same here. I did the same thing. Like, did something come through as an emergency notification? Yeah,
it doesn't even give me an idea if it was your phone or mine. It literally, I can't tell which phone is connected.
And
so I have no clue.
Yeah, wild, absolutely. So we were talking about the whole bid process and the fact that people like Lockheed Martin composed a smooth greater than 50% of the complex out there.
Right.
What kind of things are actively going on? Because I mean, you see videos on the internet, and I've yet to go out. I'd love to go out sometime and check that area out.
I'll take you on a tour.
I'd love to do that, Mike. It'd be great to go out and check that out. I recently did a whole episode live from the Marfa Viewing Center watching the Marfa lights. So there would be nothing cooler than doing a live episode from the viewing range out there.
Yeah, that'd be I've never seen it from any other. Well, I've never seen it from. Well, I better shut up.
Yeah, I don't want to know where you've seen it. I don't want to know who you've seen it with. I know the fact that you've seen it.
I've been around the block a couple times. There's some test questions. If somebody works there, you can always say, hey, okay, then when you go inside this particular hangar, what do you see over here?
Yeah.
I'll let you know what goes on there.
Sure.
We'll fast forward past the history part and we'll get up to.
Yeah, let's talk about what's going on there now, because like I said, if anything was there previously that was possibly extraterrestrial, Bob Lazar, things like that, all that 90% had to have gone away whenever the place was disclosed. It's just that simple. There's no reason to keep that technology on a site that has been publicly avowed.
Right. Well, maybe. Sometimes the best place to hide something is in plain view.
Sure.
Keep in mind, a lot of things are moved around, and there are contracts that are done with different organizations to utilize their facilities. An example would be UPS, FedEx, and what have you.
Sure.
So a lot of times things are moved around. A UPS truck will come on the base. A UPS truck will leave the base, and you would think it's the same UPS truck, but they're moving something to a different facility or what have you, and then the other truck and driver never just begin with. So you have all of those things, and then when they move stuff, there is a underground train track there. There's a hyperloop that might be built. I don't know. It hasn't been built yet. I will dispel this myth. There is no tunnel. There is no tunnel from Las Vegas to Groom Lake. It does not exist.
Okay.
So that can go bye-bye. And anyone can test that because they would have to go through all kinds of crazy ways of building it. And here's how you dispel those things. To do a tunnel like that, a university would pick that up on their seismic sensors, and it would just be immediately known. So
well, you couldn't do any seismic study at all.
No, you really.
It would be dead.
Right, but they would be able to pick that up. Or the sensors are so sensitive that someone out here would know that someone's drilling over there. It becomes that sensitive. They would know. And there's seismic sensors out there anyway because they need to know if there's an earthquake out that way, like what happened a few weeks ago, and now it's in the middle of that earthquake. What the hell is going on?
Yeah.
So, these things happen, and you deal with it. And they felt that earthquake in Vegas, by the way. That was out there too. But so fast forward a little bit. So what you have is you still have some of the old players. You've got Lockheed Martin, you've got Raytheon, you've got all the players that still have their facilities there, and they have direct access to it. They don't, all of these other things. A lot of times those facilities are complete. I can't remember. There's a term for a facility that's complete, meaning that they don't have to move anything to go from design to actual production to testing. So there's some of those facilities that actually are at that level there. So it's still an active base. It's still a lot going on there, a lot more than a lot of people would think.
Oh, absolutely.
And so you've got the DARPA hards that go on there. So they come out there, they do some testing, and then of course the little incident that happened that you alluded to, and that was revealed in December of 2017, right when I'm in the middle of the Las Vegas investigation. On November 17th of 2017, I get a phone call. And the phone call is, "Hey, Mike, we want you to come out here, and we want to talk to you a little bit," and blah, blah, blah. The usual thing, the usual classic debriefing thing. And I'm like, well, normally I don't have to go that far to do this, but that's fine. And I'll send you something here later. And then we can discuss as to whether or not we want to venture into that on a different show, because it really would deserve its own show.
I definitely want to go into that on another show.
Yeah, no problem. And so we have a lot of situations. Well, go back a little bit. November 17th. So November 18th, I go to this place, and we have a 3-day little summit there. And then it's November 18th, and then 20, so 20, it was, whatever Monday was. It was November 20th, I believe, was a Monday. The 20th or 21st, if you got a calendar there, I'm pretty sure it's 20th. So if you look at the information that was being put out by President Trump at about that time.
Yep.
November 18th was my birthday, by the way. I kind of thought I was planning to go for my birthday. So on November 18th, I actually got to go there. And then on November 20th, which I believe is Monday, is the day that all of the meetings took place. And then on November 21st, I don't remember who was first, but President Trump sent out kind of like a feeler memo to both Rocket Man and over to Putin, and basically told both of them, plus China, but the China note has never been revealed to the public. But basically, so I don't know if you can look this up while we're on there, because you'll see where anyone reading this can do this in the background. I didn't know we're going to go to this territory, but that's kind of difficult to do. But you'll see around that time, November 20th, 21st, 22nd, on through 28th, 29th, you'll see the president said a bunch of stuff and then kind of disappeared for a few days.
Yep.
and that's because a lot of things were revealed, and a technology was going to be debriefed to the public for the first time. We got wind that, and you're familiar with, obviously, Louis, and I didn't know you knew who he was, but that $22, $25 million program that he was involved in the military was basically to go in and debunk the UFO theories that were going around and some of the stuff. So, for the first time ever to be revealed to the public on your show tonight, you're going to get to find out some information.
Do it.
On November 4th, or around November 4th is when this project started. But around November 10th or so of 2004, some objects were launched from a facility on the West Coast. Those objects were sent in various directions, but primarily in a following pattern, and they were hugging the surface of the water to mimic that of a helicopter group. The project at the time flew under the radar to get away from Catalina Island and San Clemente and all these different islands that were under Catalina and that whole area of that radar net. Once they got out from under the radar net, these objects decided to do some crazy things. And these objects would go up to incredible altitudes and would descend, maintain, or move and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And this was a test. This was a test by the Air Force basically screwing with the Navy, which is pretty popular and it happens a lot, and that's pretty much what was going on. And what happened then was the USS, I think it was the Princeton, I can't remember how to pronounce the name of the down the class, but that class of ship, a variant of the Aegis cruiser or whatever, which is essentially a ship that has a ridiculous phase radar. Phased array radar is more of a passive type system, and it can track multiple objects at once, over 100 objects at once. Actually, the classification is over 300. And so they're tracking these objects moving at ridiculous speed and very awkward, to the point where they thought that they had a problem with the system. So they effectively rebooted it. These objects moved up to various heights, altitudes, and would dip down and do crazy things. Well, one of them, as a couple of objects fell off, one of the objects, which was considered Tic-Tac, which is commonly referred to as Tic-Tac, took off and went up to a undisclosed altitude. We'll just say that it hit a threshold, we'll put it that way, and then dipped down to 80,000 feet, then dipped down to 60,000 feet, which is about the ceiling of that phased array radar, and then dipped down to the surface of the water and submerged in 0.78 seconds.
Wow.
So if you calculate that speed of how fast the object would have to be moving to do that, then that's why the radar operators were thinking, okay, Houston, we got a problem here.
Yeah, because I mean, and I'll tell you where that barrier is, folks. It's right at the troposphere, just before you hit the ionosphere and then go into outer space. It's the upper end of the stratosphere. When there are only certain planes that can actively handle being up there. It's stuff like the U-2, SR-71, some of the modern versions. And you know what's hilarious to me is the people that were making fun of the fact of a Space Force, like Trump was a crazy person. I'm not going to say that Trump is a sane person, but the fact that he was saying that we need a Space Force, that has been a going concern for years. And if you want to try to disprove that notion, feel free to look up the X-37B. I want to say it was shortly after Obama's second election that it was announced that it just spent its first record mission of like 265 days in continuous orbit. So that thing was over our heads for like a year before we ever publicly heard about it.
It's actually exceeded a year.
Oh, now. It's been up there for like 2.5 years now.
Yep.
Like, and if you think that there's only one of them, you're a crazy person. You're the crazy person. You are, not me.
Well, that's a Boeing project.
It's an unmanned space plane. And, you know,
really? Why do they have windows?
What? Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's one of the curious ones too. Thank you.
It's for spatial orientation. Essentially a human on board that. Now the first two had there's no place for anybody to be. But once you started seeing these cavities that were put into place, allowed it to go on there, and they're still using shuttle tiles and stuff like this, which is carbon silica silicate, and I actually have one. I'll play with it one day. Nice. And these well, anyway, the X-37B can take off from the bottom of a plane and can be launched inside of a rocket. And on July 23rd of this year, I was actually asked to go to SpaceX and do some things there because they had an old satellite that it was passed over to them that it was kind of gifted to them. It was a mock-up for, I think it was NRO 12 or NRO 20. It was like one of the real low NRO number launches. NROL means National Reconnaissance Office launch. Yeah. And a lot of those are signed to Vandenberg. And then, of course, due to the proximity of SpaceX got a hold of one of them. They couldn't open the gimbal door, the gimbal camera door, and they couldn't figure out how to open the door, and they didn't want to break it. And so telling these guys that all you need to do is use a magnet to open that door was quite hilarious. But yeah, that was all that was necessary. But the reason why I mention that is because that same apparatus was actually utilized in one of the early iterations of the 37 project, the 37A, 37B. They had the project, and plus they were testing different technologies as far as propulsion is concerned.
Yeah,
because they wanted to maneuver it through orbit. Now, keep in mind the space shuttle, as big as it was, could only stay on orbit for 7 to 10 days in that range. That was about max. You could go 14 days, and in extreme circumstances, maybe a little bit longer, or if it's attached to the space station.
Yeah, but it was attached to the space station. It could do like a month, stuff like that. But it was short-term missions. It was go up, take care of the satellite, come back down, or bring the satellite down with you.
Right. So one of the classic things you have to do when you're on orbit is if someone asks you to go to a different orbit, that's called tasking. And so if you retask a satellite or retask this object, it would have to maneuver. So if the shuttle only has enough to do 7 to 10 days, and then it has to turn around and burn the OMS engines and then come in, then where's that extra fuel coming from? So there's a question for you. I won't give you the answer for some of the people listening to this. Go out and try to find that answer.
It goes right back to what I was saying earlier. Go back and look at the records. Like a good 60% of those missions were classified under DoD. Those pilots did not even get their instructions for their mission until they were in orbit. I am such a nerd. I actually have a copy of the Space Shuttle Operator's Manual.
Really? What's Ops 99 Pro?
I don't have it with me. I'm not that much of a nerd. But
all right. Well, Ops 99 Pro is the command entered into the actual the CMS or basically that's the command that starts the shuttle. It's the one that says, okay we're gonna launch the shuttle. So it was Ops 99 Pro, and then then all the other Pro numbers going behind it. So that's actually the first one. So if you ever do if you ever become nerdy, me and I should have the same theme song by what's that guy's name? Weird Al something other. Yeah. I think you and I really need to sit down and really have a beer
together. We do, man. I think it's long overdue.
If you're in Vegas, I'll be out there soon. So
yeah. And it's interesting to me that most of this stuff is public knowledge. It gets skipped over, you hear about these things like it'll be like a sideline CNN story for like 20 seconds before they go to commercial for 5 minutes.
Yeah. And then you're like, okay, well, why did they just do that? And what is? It's like I need some backstory. Okay, who did I talk to? Where's this shit come from? And I did the same thing. Some of the stories I don't know about, but I'm interested. I'm like, wait a second. I remember going into a room and seeing an object under a tarp and wondering what in the hell is that? it just like it was mind-boggling, the shape that I was looking at, because the tarp that was over the top of it was form-fitting. It was like a nice.
Man, even the hypothesis that I was putting forth the other day, not the other day, but that I put forth earlier, I put forth the other day in a discussion group on Facebook, and someone was like, "Wow, you wear the tinfoil hat tight," and I was like, "Okay, here's the thing: when I work corporate conventions."
Right.
And I see 3-star generals get up on stage and say we are finally able to get the data that we want at the rate that we want it, and we've been trying to do this for 25 years.
Right.
The operative point there is they've been trying to do this for 25 years. And they can do it. So it's like when I've got a 3-star general saying that, like, yeah, they can data swath like 200,000 people and just mass gather the data and bookmarks on their phone, and whoop, there it is. Like, yeah, they can do it. It's there. Yes, we have unmanned space planes. Yeah, please take us to the deep end, because like I said, I mean, people think I wear a tinfoil hat, and I don't wear a tinfoil hat. This is all based off things that I read from viable sources like Defense One. When I see Defense One, like last year, right up around this time, saying that they can now control up to 3 drones per soldier via telepathy with a mind control ring that the soldier wears and controls up to 3 drones, like that. That's like the popular mechanics of the military, man. It's there.
Yeah, that's
tech. That's a real thing. Like, this is keeping people like that 3-star general in the know.
Yep, absolutely. And they get briefed and debriefed by a wonderful group of people that have to keep driving across that one bridge, and now they don't have to drive across that bridge anymore.
Yeah.
And someone that just listened to this will know exactly what I mean by that, and then they go, okay, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. So fast forward a little bit, and let's talk about these little objects that were seen off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah,
I mean, I used to live in Jacksonville, and these other objects that were seen off the coast of San Diego here. Wait, I live here now. So in 2004 and then fast forward 2015, that's the 2 incidences that I think released. And yet Tic-Tac and Gimbal is what they're commonly referred to. So these objects were moving at ridiculous speed. And of course, the tracking that the Princeton was doing, and the guys that were there looking at this stuff were obviously questioning their equipment. They had to be. And the Air Force was just sitting there laughing their ass off, because this whole thing was ran by the Air Force, and the Air Force has a history of messing with the other with the other services, and vice versa. The Navy and the Air Force have this ongoing, we got technology, we're going to mess with you. You got technology, we're going to mess with us. But in this particular case, this just happened to be a Air Force DARPA / Vandenberg / Area 51 / let's play with this little island off the coast of California, and let's make that the launching point, or make it appear that that's the launching point, just so we can have radar blips that can be semi-explained, moving at, I don't remember if they're moving at somewhere around 100 miles an hour or something reasonable that they could tether a helicopter. But then obviously the weird stuff started happening, and that's where some guy sitting in a chair flying these things autonomously is having a blast. And they're weird. These guys were getting telemetry back in real time. Now, back in the first incident off of Jacksonville, not the first incident, but we'll just say during these incidents, the telemetry that was being fed back real time, and people were monitoring this from several different areas. With the two existing manufacturers, obviously these objects are competing objects. There's the ones made by one company, ones made by another, and they're competing objects, just like they do any project. They put them out there and say, okay. So what happened was this technology that's put into both of these objects is what is actually the cool part. And the cool part about this is that both craft have to be similar size. They both have to have these similar objects in them. They have to have two counter-rotating plates inside. I don't know how this works because that wasn't what my job was. But these counter-rotating discs apparently have something to do with the technology that allows them to have anti-gravity. So the ability to maneuver these craft at these ridiculous speeds is one thing. The other end of the spectrum is, okay, what do we do to the outside of the craft to allow it to not have to deal with the temperature changes? So what you have is you have two competing internal technologies that handle propulsion, and you have one and only one external technology that was utilized to allow these craft to move through the air, which is 25 times less dense than water, which is amazing that these craft are moving. I don't know how fast these craft were moving underwater, but these craft can move underwater at a very high clip with very little problem. They were tracked going underwater at well over 500 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Well over. They're tracked above the water, moving at speeds that they have not released to anywhere yet at well over 9,000, 12,000 miles per hour, and higher, depending on what it was doing at the time. At one point, there was a F-18 group that was launched from them, obviously. I think from them counter. These F-18 Super Hornets went out. They were tasked to go find out what these objects were. A E-3 Hawkeye was out doing its job, and some of the duties between the phase array on the Princeton was transferred over to the Hawkeye and back and forth, but the Hawkeye couldn't get a track, so they had to use a phase array radar, which is called Spy 1, which is what's used on the Princeton. So the Princeton was able to track it, but it was trying to push the data over to the other aircraft that couldn't do it. And then they were able to do it at one point, and then the aircraft got a visual lock, and then that was what we see when we see the footage that Louis, I don't know if it's Louis or Louis, I can't remember how to pronounce it. I think it's Louis.
Louis.
Released
Louis
to the public.
Elizondo. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I never met him. I would like to meet him one day. I want to shake his hand and say thank you for the job that you did, because I appreciate people like that.
Well, and what's funny though is that there are people questioning him and his validity. And it's one of those like of course there are people that have questioned Bob Lazar's validity for years, still question Bob Lazar's validity, despite having an element named after him because it has the properties that he described like 3 decades ago.
Right. Well, I think with Bob, I think, and I even got on that bandwagon a little bit. And I'll be honest with you, there was a certain point where I really wasn't sure what his intentions were. It was just like people listening to me tonight. What's Mike's intentions? Why is he saying all this stuff now? Well, I'm saying it now because I was told I could. I know what I can talk about, what I can't talk about, but this technology is being revealed to the public for a reason. The technology is being released because they need to utilize this technology quite a bit more. Because we sent a note to Rocket Man and told him, hey, what are you doing? What are you wearing right now? Why don't you come outside? We want to show you something.
Yeah.
And the same thing to Putin. And basically told him and said, look, you guys want to do whatever you want to do, but this is what we're capable of doing right now. The problem is that China is ahead of Russia and North Korea, way ahead with this technology. But they're not ahead of us.
And if you think that it's a coincidence, I mean, number one, it blew my mind whenever people were like, "Oh my God, the president got out of the arms agreement," and I'm like, "Well, you did hear, of course, that Russia and China announced their hypersonic missile programs." And that they're highly advanced in them already. There's only one way for us to be able to catch up with that in all legality. Not that we haven't been working on those hypersonic programs ourselves. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the anti-gravitic technology that we obviously have.
Well, we've given that technology away to the civilian industry because the technology that they have now is so far past that we don't even care anymore. It's like that technology was gifted, literally gifted. SpaceX has it. Blue Origin has it. Everybody has that technology now as far as the hyper.
Yeah, the hypersonic technology has been out for God knows how long. I mean, good Lord, the MX missile was hypersonic.
Right. Now, here's the problem with these two objects that everybody's seen. There's more than two objects, number-wise. There's two competing technologies that are being worked on. The problem is that the earlier iterations of it, they can't carry bombs or missiles or any of that stuff. So that just makes them almost useless as far as what people view as a weapon platform. So they're not good as a platform. In fact, Tic-Tac has a very difficult time with its not landing ability, but it uses skids. It literally, when it's on the ground, it has skids, or you have to put these big platform, looks like a wooden, like what you put a boat when you dry dock a boat.
Yeah. Like what you have a glider on. It's like a tripod trailer with three wheels to help it get down the road, because those things are just useless, as is the weight for gears and equipment to pull that stuff up into the belly.
Right. So when the technology was tested and proven for this, Aurora was immediately just gotten rid of. Aurora was bye-bye. It's like no more.
And that was a long existing project that they've been working on, the Aurora craft.
Yeah, the Aurora craft was a long one. That was the one that
was like 20 years long. That the Aurora project was going on before the reveal of the F-117.
Yeah, Half Blue. Yeah, when Half Blue became known, that kind of stuff. Because there's another variation of Half Blue that has reverse wings on it. It's actually, I don't know if anybody's seen that, but that one is kind of awkward. But going back to the technology behind this, the technology was so rapidly advanced. DARPA is who put this out there, just so everybody knows. Some of this has been revealed that you're hearing for the first, and some of it you've never heard before. So DARPA pushed this project to fruition. It went from design to concept and to testing work model inside of 9 months. That is ridiculous.
Wow, that is crazy.
That's beyond believable. People are throwing things at the computer screens saying this guy's a fruitcake, blah blah blah. But when it all comes out, and everybody will come back and say, yeah, it's 9 months, and then you say, well, shit, he was right. It actually took 9 months, and here's why. A lot of the technology was stumbled onto by 2 or 3 different universities. I won't go into which universities, because that gets to more of a civilian area and covers certain doctors and people that we don't want to mention, because their lives might be in danger and stuff like that. So we won't go that route. But I will say the technology comes from universities. And 3 or more universities had different pieces of this technology in a working order, kind of, but it wasn't really going the route they wanted it to go, because a lot of it involved super cold temperature, magnetics, all of these different things.
You're talking like the University of Houston Semiconductor Lab, places like that.
Right, exactly. Places like that, or on that caliber and stuff like that. So, and the thing is I'm not going to sit there and claim I know everything about the project, because I don't. But I do know what I know about the project, and what I can say is the speeds that these crafts can achieve, what their technical capabilities are, what they can't do, and the new technology that's being that's already been out there that I was actually able to witness myself, which is it's essential. I for the lack of a better term, cloaking ability. This craft could be in front of you about 50 feet, and you would not see it.
Wow.
You would not see it. Not see it. And you wouldn't hear it unless you knew what to listen for. It does make a noise. I'm not going to lie to you. It does make a noise, but you would not hear it.
Yeah, but I mean, they're obviously using like real-time reverse sound algorithms, like what they talked about in like Knight Rider, folks, like what made Knight Rider silent.
Yeah, actually, no. You're going to be surprised. It's actually the propulsion that it does.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. It's using a magnetic form of propulsion, something like that.
So it doesn't make noise to begin with. But what does make noise and what's very hard to shield is the amount of electricity that this thing has to generate to make it work. It's a ridiculous amount of electricity.
Yeah.
And so they miniaturizing a certain apparatus down to the size that would fit in these craft is why each one of these is 46 feet. You can't make it any smaller. With almost any technology, it doesn't matter if the technology advances, these things are going to pretty much always be 46 feet. And there's another reason for that.
What's that?
Is a truck?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
you can move them. You can move them easily without raising suspicion. You aren't moving large, odd-shaped wings, things like that. For all people know, that's a big-ass septic tank underneath there.
Exactly. So that's where you get into the overall everyday aspect of common things that have to be taken into place. So the one object is 46 foot long and X feet wide, but it fits in a truck, obviously. So it has to be carted around. So so 46 foot and a 53 foot trailer, no problem. The craft cannot be turned on when it's inside the truck, because the truck would have a huge problem.
The truck would probably just be crushed by any field.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't know the answer to this. And someone out there hearing this may know more about that, because apparently during startup and power down takes much longer than startup.
Yeah, because you've got to. It's like having a capacitor charged. You've got to dissipate the energy.
Yeah.
And there's no way to dissipate that energy other than discharging it into something else or letting it naturally dissipate.
Yeah, and that's why these objects have would be like a home base that they go to, and there's not many of these around. But the cool thing is that actually I can send it to you right now. I'm going to send you something, and this is just between us. I'll do it in the background here.
Yeah.
I can do it without disconnecting you. Very good. I'll send that. But you guys keep talking as I do this. These objects, there's two competing designs. One of them is easily transportable, the other one not so much. So the one design is going to win, but there's a problem with the one design, which is the Tic-Tac design. The Tic-Tac design has to periodically stop and reorient itself with the Earth's magnetic field. I don't know if they've overcome that yet, because I know that was a large technological issue that they had. But that was an issue back in the day. The other thing too is back in the day they were very visible. They did not have the cloaking technology that they have now, which is some form of. They were trying to get to the point where they could just paint this on, but it's a surface material that goes over it that actually has cameras all the way around this craft, reaches up on the other side, and is effectively like a big flying television.
No, it's utterly, and I can explain some of the technology, folks, because I work with some of the technology in the field that I'm in. Whenever you're talking about like the two-way displays, where it's literally a clear pane of glass that can have content on both sides of the screen. You can have video playing on both sides. You see one video, you don't see the one on the other side, but you can see straight through the piece of glass with the video playing on it. All you have to do at that point is have a camera showing the opposite side or showing whatever you want to show, and that's what's there. You're going to see through everything else. So if they're showing... If it's translucent glass, something like that, they can literally show the clouds on the opposite side. And their camera's 360 degrees, and they now make LED screens that you can wrap around columns. There you have it.
Correct.
Same thing.
Correct.
So, yeah. I mean, it's adaptive camouflage. And it's been around for years. They first did it with tanks, I want to say, back in it was easily the early 2000s when they were premiering the first stuff. It wasn't nearly a wraparound. You could do it from one angle. So, you know,
and that's when these first objects were first seen. So they were testing that same technology. I think the problem they were having with this is the craft had to be in a certain shape, and that created an issue with the technology to get that to go around. So they didn't even put the technology on them in the beginning. They literally were like just white. They were white. So that's why when you see them, they call them Tic-Tac or whatever. But there's the other colors that were put into play that would mimic the whatever area behind it was going to be in view, and they went with that. So
and there was actually a doctor in Japan that developed a cloak that was actually a flexible material that did the same thing.
Yep. And I think didn't they do that with a jacket or something?
Yeah. No, it was like a rain poncho kind of.
Yep.
Where you could like put it over your head, and it was like Jedi Knight status, where it came down to like you could see the ground in front of you, but nobody could see your face.
Correct.
Yeah. And I mean, this is, and you know, when you're talking high-end electronic fields, when you're talking superconductors, hyperconductors, that kind of stuff, the technology behind controlling that has gotten so entirely small. Even living in Austin myself, we should really do a whole episode sometime, Mike, on the Future Force, which is just started. Like, that was a memorandum that was put out that they were going to be embedding up to 300 military personnel with local colleges and forward-looking technology programs to find the weapons of the future.
Correct. And they've been doing that for a while too. They also reached out to they do that with universities, and then you have this place called the Table Society. Table something. Latin word for the word table is mensa. Yeah, they would have these. First Tuesday of every month, you would go into this think tank, and what they would do. Now, this is not precursor to DARPA Hard, but if you're in DARPA, and DARPA has obviously open catalog, so that probably would naturally make you think they have a closed catalog, maybe.
Yeah.
So whenever you're brought in, and then they vet you, and then you go through your whatever blah blah blah, they pull you into this area which is a think tank, and what they do is they have people of things that have nothing to do with the technology that they're looking at, and they throw a problem on the table and say, look, we want this pencil to fly through the air and hit that clock, but we want it to still be a pencil with no power source. How are we going to do that? And it'd be something as silly as that. You'd be like, and half the people would be like, this is stupid, I'm out of here. And those are the people you wanted out of here. But the ones that stayed there, the ones that stayed at the table and came up with, no matter how outlandish the solution is, they would come up with something, or they would just say that this is beyond difficult. And then, of course, they coined the term DARPA Hard. So you have DARPA Hards that were the projects that would come into play, and this that we're talking about right now. And if you look at your phone, you may see something.
Yeah. I got it.
Okay, so don't mention what it is.
No.
But if you take a look at it, I think you can read between the lines as to what you're looking at. That's just regular old telephone Google stuff going on.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, and
when I.
No. Go ahead. I can't say anything about it. And but something that I can say something about is even the events that I'm on right now. To go just to loop things back straight up to Area 51, to the Naruto run, to I wish I should have contacted you. I really just should have contacted you. I wanted to go out. Unfortunately, it's directly in between two shows for me, the 20th. So there's no way that I can go out and do anything. I wanted to go out and talk to people the day before that were camped out for it. and like interview them and get their side of the story, and then get the hell out of there.
That would be a good thing. Because I wanted to go too, and I actually asked the base commander, or the base, basically the public information officer, but the request had to go to the base commander at Edwards if they wanted to lower the anticipation level of some of the people coming out. Because we're going to have some wackadoodles out there. We're going to have some straight-on wackadoodles out there that are just going to push the envelope and make people do things they otherwise wouldn't do, which might cause these people to be permanently disfigured, killed, lose. A lot of people are going to lose their hearing. That's going to happen.
Yep.
All these different things. And people are going to be, just things that will happen that, even though it's non-lethal, but that'll happen that shouldn't happen.
It sure ain't going to be fun.
No, it's not. So I said, well, why don't you guys pick a few people, like, hey, pick me, to go out to the facility and to film it, and give us a certain level of freedom, or mimic freedom, where we can go around certain areas. We know there's limitations or whatever, but just so we can walk around and say, hey, is there something here? There's not something here, or whatever.
Yeah.
And we realize it'll be staged. We get it. But that even a staged event is better than no event to allow someone to go in there to film inside Area 51. You've already admitted it exists.
Yeah.
You got Luis.
Yeah.
Luis is out here, and if you know him, give him my phone number, and just, I don't know if you do or not. You mentioned him earlier. But
I wish. I wish. I'm working on it.
Okay.
I guarantee you I'm connected to people that know him.
All right. Well,
I can guarantee that.
Then I'll reverse
we'll talk
this.
about that off air. But I am definitely
I'll
connected to people that know him.
Okay, good. So I won't go that. I won't go there. So, but please, by all means, because there's some answers that he needs as well. There's some.
Yeah.
I don't. And there are people that obviously work in the government that don't like this. They don't like.
Well, and
they don't. What we're doing right now, they like. They do like this because this is the beginning of the softening of the blow.
Yeah. No. This is what's called soft disclosure.
Yes.
This is what they love. Correct. They live for it. This is like, we talk about it all the time on this show, like the movie Lawnmower Man by Stephen King.
Yeah.
If you look at what VR was, and that was like 1992.
Yep.
That is the technology that we are using for VR. And that is what we are using VR for.
Yep. And the pilot that flies these things
is in VR.
Full on
VR.
Absolutely. It makes Oculus look like Noculus. It's like just the doofiest thing you ever seen. This headset that you wear to fly this thing is.
Well, and I'm sure a full immersion suit with haptic feedback, everything.
Yeah, but here's the thing. There's no flight controls. There are no flight controls inside either of these two.
No.
However, the 2004 variation doesn't have this, but in the 2010, whenever the second video was released, but 2010 was the first time it flew. The second one was built to try to see if humans could ride these things, because you'd be tossed around like a you'd be flattened against the wall.
Oh yeah,
if this thing moved the way it does.
You'd be a soft bag of bone chips by the time your ride was done.
Right, but at one, exactly. But at one, and here's some technical stuff that actually is not so technical after all, because I did this with the Flat Earth Society. They claim that 1G acceleration is the excuse as to why the Earth has gravity, because they don't believe the Earth has gravity. That the Earth is just accelerating at 1G. So I postulated, I said, well, let me ask you a question. If the Earth is accelerating at 1G, that's 32 feet per second, how fast would the Earth be going, say, after a minute? How fast would the Earth be going after, say, an hour or a day or a week, a month, a year?
Because can't naturally go at light speed, right?
Right. So after a year, you'd be traveling at beyond the speed of light. So I said, so basically that math doesn't work. But here's the deal. If you use those same calculations and you do 1G acceleration on this craft, have you ever been in a helicopter, Chris?
No, not yet. Not yet.
Okay. And people listening to this that's ever been in a helicopter will be able to relate to this. If you're not looking outside the window, and you have a really good pilot, you won't even know you took off. If they spin up the blades and they sit there for a minute, and then you look down around and he takes off, and he takes off nice and smooth, I'm sure, and someone listening to this will go, yeah, he's right. I remember taking off in a helicopter one time. I had no clothes in the air. That's exactly what these things do. They're able to take off at such a slow speed that you wouldn't actually know that they had taken off, whether you're inside or out. Now, as you look at it, from the outside, it's going to give you this scene from the movie Predator thing. Remember when the creature was running around and all that crap and saw that thing? That's kind of the effect you would probably see if you knew exactly where to look.
No, exactly. That's the effect of adaptive camouflage.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Now, the sound you hear is two counter-rotating objects inside this thing spun up to a ridiculous RPM that create its own sound, and then you have the electrical, whatever the hell is powering this thing, which can't.
The discharge, the electrical field discharge, which I'm sure kind of sounds like if you've ever been around a Van de Graaff machine. Whenever it's spun up, just like a hard static sound is what I could imagine with just the fields that would be necessary to generate that.
Yep. And when the device is in status, when it's what's called static, you have static. A plane is just sitting on a runway. It's called static.
Go hang out near a power station. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And
that's the sound. That's the sound.
With you.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they'll light up.
Yeah. But that's kind of the sound I would imagine is a low hum with just a general, static discharge going on.
But you don't hear the static part. All you hear is the hum part. But that is counter. Now, remember earlier you had mentioned that they have that the craft component makes a lot of noise, and it has some sort of counterbalancing thing to counteract that, kind of like closed noise cancellation headphones.
Yeah.
So
it's an easy enough algorithm.
Has that. Yeah, and it does kind of have that for that, but the propulsion system itself doesn't actually make any noise at all. It's the actual power, what powers the propulsion system that makes the only noise the craft makes at all, so which is kind of weird. So the craft moves, obviously at ridiculous speed. If a human could be on board, then you have what effectively, let's just use aircraft terms. When you take off on a plane, you have climb out. So during climb out, the plane is accelerating, getting to cruise speed, whatever, and then it gets to cruise speed, and you're flying. You take off from LAX, you get up maybe 10,000, 15,000 feet. Your
cruising altitude
goes off, and then you can go to the bathroom, do whatever you want to do. Okay, this doesn't have that. This basically continues its acceleration to midpoint, and at midpoint, it starts to decelerate at the exact same rate and curve as the acceleration point. So if you're traveling 1,000 miles, your ramping up speed would be to 500 mile point, and then it has to start slowing down 500 miles out.
Okay.
But it's still going so damn fast. But that's only if it has cargo, soft cargo. If it has soft cargo. Now, hard cargo, no problem.
Yeah. Because otherwise, you would need if it's got a BE, I wouldn't say an EBE because it's people. So if it's got a biological entity inside, it has to take those precautions because there is no inertial dampening going on. Without inertial dampening or some kind of hard magnetic repulse. Or gravitic repulse to stop that. There's no way to stop the person inside from just smacking into the wall on the other side of the craft.
Exactly. So an object in motion tends to stay in motion unless it's enacted upon by a different force. Yeah. And so you have Newton is all over this, but there's a new law.
Yeah.
It didn't exist before, but now we've got a new law to deal with, and this is what's going to be revealed. This is where the universities come back into play. Now, if everybody knows the history of DARPA, you remember DARPA actually was created and the internet was created. All this other stuff was created out of the need and the necessity of universities to communicate.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're bouncing all over the map here.
Thank you, Al Gore.
Confusing the hell out of everybody. But that's a good thing because it's going to make people start to think. Now, this technology that was utilized by these universities that got together and finally solved the problem created a new rule, a new physics rule. It didn't create a new science. It didn't create anything else. But it did. If Newton was alive, Newton would go, holy shit. I didn't think of that. If Einstein was alive, Einstein would say something a little different. He would be going, I told you so. So that's the clues I'm going to give you. You have to go back and look at Newton's laws. You have to go to Einstein, and you have to listen to what those two people would say. Newton would say, holy shit. Einstein would say, I told you so. And go between the two.
Yeah, and I mean, basically with enough electromagnetic energy, you could do what people would say that they were trying to do with the USS Eldridge, which is basically bend space-time, things like that. And this is, it would be more bending space than anything else. Not time necessarily, but just so you know,
space. This isn't that. Now, I'm going to tell you also, I don't know the actual answer. All right. I know enough of the answer to know what the proper questions are to ask, which is what we were doing. There's more than one person involved. So some questions were being brought up, and those questions were being looked at. And of course, when you ask the question, it's like using mentalism. It's like, okay, you guys have any questions? Well, yeah, what are the side effects? And then you put your foot up on top of the desk and you say, why is my foot doing this? And they're like, what? Let's take a look at that. Yeah, well, didn't you guys think about this before you come on, man. We got problems here. And so that was where part of the meeting was going. But the other part of the meeting was starting to get into the realm of, hey, these scientists are sitting up there thinking that, wow, these guys that are in here are a little bit more intelligent than we gave them credit for because we're asking some questions that they didn't think that were going to be asked. And so we're using mentalism techniques because, hey, we're all old spy school guys. So you got a bunch of spooks in there asking these guys questions because this is the technology of spooks. It's not the technology of war.
No.
This is the technology of intelligence.
Yeah, this is espionage technology.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly. Imagine being able to put this craft over a warehouse or a facility somewhere and just watch them do whatever we want.
Just get whatever you want.
Exactly. Go there and take it. Well, you can't open the craft while it's on.
Sure.
Literally, there's no door. You can't open a door, or you can't even put landing gear down, which is why. When you see Tic-Tac, you'll see that it has things underneath it. If you look at it very carefully, you'll actually see that, and that's because it can't put the gear down like they were going to do before, because that creates a problem in this electromagnetic field that goes around it. So let's back forward. So why does Mike Turber know anything about this? This guy's full of crap. He was never involved in these projects. Why would he even know? Well, here's your answer. Back in the day, the Soviet Union used to send a lot of submarines over here. And we would track them and put sonar buoys out there, not the Air Force, but the Navy. The Navy was charged with tracking submarines, and they've been charged with tracking submarines for a long time. Now, this is going to fast forward and explain why the Air Force and the Navy start screaming with each other. And some people are going to recognize some of this answer. So back in the day, there was this device called magnetic anomaly detection, MAD. So what magnetic anomaly detection was we would try to track an object as it moves through any electromagnetic spectrum and or any atmosphere or liquid or whatever that would create enough disturbance that we would be able to track this. Then that was getting pretty cool. So the problem is that the company that was making all these sonar buoys was about to be put out of business. So we said, you guys are going to come with new technology, because they were dropping these sonar buoys in the water trying to track all the submarines. So fast forward a little bit, and then this man comes on the scene, and then people go, okay, let's do this. Why don't we just map the Earth's magnetic field down to the nth degree? And if an object moves through that, we should be able to track it passively.
Yeah.
Hear my words, passive. Now, where did I use that word before earlier today? Passive radar on the Princeton.
Yep.
Can track hundreds of objects at one time. But the problem with passive radar is you need to have some sort of media that it's working with, air or something, or objects have to move through a predetermined space. Now, passive radar can work 360 degrees. So what we did, or what someone did, or whatever, I don't even care at this point. What was done was that the Earth's magnetic field was basically mapped to a ridiculous level of whatever. And as an object would move through, it was easily trackable. So the Soviet Union was still making subs. They were trying to make subs out of different materials to see if they could bypass all of our ability to track them. So we decided that, okay, this technology cannot be hidden because too many people need to work on this. Let's call somebody to come in to help us release this information. So just like you had Lewis reveal this stuff in his whistleblower program, we had this guy. You may not have heard of him. The guy's name is very obscure. Most people won't recognize his name. His name's Tom Clancy. I don't know if you've ever heard of that guy before. He used to write some books.
You may have heard of him.
Yeah, you certainly may have heard.
Yeah.
He was given unprecedented security clearance as he came on to different bases around the world. And then this movie came out. I guess you can already guess the title of the movie. Hunt for Red October.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the information that is passed in that movie is actually extremely accurate and utilized some technology back then that we knew the Soviets were working on, and they really were working on it. And they were trying to build a silent sub that they would move through the water or whatever. So what happens is when the silent sub just kind of like cruises around and seems to go anywhere it wants to go, we needed to let it know that we knew where it was going. And so just like kind of like in that movie, this submarine went into Manila Bay, Pacific Bay, and various other places. We'll just call it the right name. And a megaphone may have been placed underwater, and of course some guy got on a microphone. Now, I don't know where this was ever seen before, but they get on the microphone, they start reading to the hydrophone. Captain Yuri, first mate, whatever their titles are. So they're reading off the entire crew of this boat. You have never seen a boat turn around and haul ass so fast.
That's awesome.
It was cruising through the water, and it was at periscope, almost periscope depth when it came in. Because it's kind of tricky to go in there, and they were really stupid to do this, to test the submarine. And they immediately found out that not only could we track them there, but as this ship hauled away at 47 knots, which is incredibly fast for a submarine. 47 knots is moving. My first jet ski could move that fast. Hauling ass, and as it moved further and further away, it was pinged in a certain way. Now, you have conical pings and you have targeted pings. You can actually aim a ping at an object that is so aimed that you would actually disrupt the object's path, or you could actually ping it so hard that it would deafen everybody on board.
Yeah.
So everywhere this thing went, it was given a shaped ping, and everybody on board could hear it. And it was like, we can't hide. You told us that this thing was invisible.
Yeah.
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 Not so much. So,
and
fast forward now. That was in the 80s. Now, fast forward a little bit, you can imagine what's all going on now.
Well, and I mean, there was famously, especially up around the North Pacific, Alaska area, there was the beaching of whales, things like that were coming about from sonar nets and experimentation, all that kind of stuff. So,
of course, people blaming their HARP. They were blaming all kinds of different stuff.
Well, HARP is a little bit different, and that's they basically bake the ionosphere with radiation, and we can do a whole episode on that. And what the possible implications of that as a weaponized technology are. That goes back to Brookings' report and all kinds of stuff about the possibilities of space travel to begin with, and it's pretty incredible when you start getting into it, folks. And it like I said earlier, it seems like I wear the tin hat really tight, but this stuff's out there.
Actually,
it's out there.
Actually, you're very open. You're probably the easiest person I've had to. I don't say had to. You're probably the easiest person I've ever gotten on one of these shows with, and was able to talk about things and effectively nip something in the bud, because there's some things that I'm not nipping in the bud because I don't want you to believe it because it's real and I'm government disinfo and I'm here to do whatever. Because if I'm government disinfo and I'm a shill, please someone tell me where to go get the check, because I can really use it right now.
Yeah, but, absolutely.
But that's not the case, and there are government programs that do that. A lot of it is more or less overseas. And
Operation Mockingbird is alive and well, folks.
Bingo. And then look up Operation Blue Jay, and I'll just drop these. So these are breadcrumbs for you. Operation Blue Jay.
Yeah, much meaner than a mockingbird, believe it or not, folks.
Yeah, exactly. So look up Operation Blue Jay, look up Century City, and look up Project Iceworm. And then once you learn about those, then that'll immediately tell you what one of our future episodes should be about, and you'll have a little fun.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this, because I know you have things going on that you need to get to, stuff like that. I don't want to keep you all night. Sure. This episode has been absolutely phenomenal. In your opinion, in your educated opinion, knowing the technologies that are out there, knowing that these things are being piloted by people but not inside of the craft, what is your opinion of the or at least the ones going at the 12,000 miles an hour? There's no way that there is at least a human being inside the craft.
Yeah, humans are not necessary, so they become a problem.
Yeah, exactly. So what do you make of the snake-like objects that have been seen around the country? I mean, I myself expect. I'm trying right now to get MUFON San Antonio on. There's been an uptick in sightings in Texas lately, and I assume that we'll have a larger uptick as the future weapons department takes hold and things like that start happening.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. Think about where they are, and think about, you mentioned the city. Think about what lies in that city. And then think about another state that actually they decided, we really need to get away from populated centers because we really want to push this technology on certain areas that we have control over, and then we want to move it, into other areas. So that's why you see these objects near these facilities or within a reasonable pattern or orbital pattern of these facilities. But you don't see them in some of the other areas as much because there's just simply not enough people there. So you would probably see these around the area of Bluffdale, Utah. You'd probably see them. You won't see them around Fort Meade. There's just entirely too many people there. Plus the Fort Meade / Baltimore / power facility just is really tapped out. So literally when you turn on the computer at the facility at Fort Meade, you actually have to call and say we're turning on our computer. Imagine at your house, you turn on your computer to start doing homework or stuff, and you have to call the power company.
Exactly.
Turn on a computer. So now that wasn't the case in San Antonio, but it was getting to be that way. If you look at the top of the facility there, with the old Sony manufacturing chip right across the street from Walmart, blah blah blah, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
You'll see that. So they'll know that there. Now that project and that. All of the objects that people are seeing, I know extremely little about, but I do know about other shared projects and shared technology that is what's being utilized around the board. Because here's what's happening, and this is where all this is going. And I know you want to wrap up the show too, but this is where this is going. The rate of technology increase is not going well for the rate of technology dispersion. So if you look at a chart and you look at the technology over the last 1,000 years, you'll see basically a flat line until you get to about 1850, and then you might visually see that line lift off the baseline a little bit, and then by the time you get to 1900, you could tell it's separated from the line, but by the time you get to 1950, this thing almost starts going vertical.
Yeah.
So that's that issue there. But when you look at the dissemination of technology to the peoples and the stuff around the world, you have a problem. The problem is it's not getting out everywhere. So the United States government, through different means with the United Nations and with various countries that we consider friendly, especially all the Five Eye countries. The Five Eyes are the countries that we deal with shared technology and shared intelligence. Why New Zealand's on there, I don't know. Why are you here? Why you don't do anything?
What do you
Put
do?
Israel here. Israel should be here, but no.
You make epic backdrop for movies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lord of the Rings was great. We appreciate it.
Lord of the Rings.
Enough with the Hobbit holes already.
Exactly. Between you and Tunis, Tunisia, we can all the sci-fi films and everything else they go do. All we need is Tunisia and New Zealand, and we're done. But moving fast forward, the initiative is this. And you can actually thank Trump for part of this, and what you're looking at on your phone is part of this. And I'll let you reveal that at a future date once I get permission to do so. But hopefully your draw's off the floor. But what I was thinking was legit and real. The situation is this. The technology needs to be put out there in such a way that the world knows that it's there and that it's not here to harm you. The society is going to change. We're a level 0/level 1 wannabe society. And we need to move forward. We need to move forward before we destroy ourselves. And the only way we can prevent ourselves from destroying ourselves is by sharing all of these wonderful technologies, but also letting all these other countries and everything know that, okay, for us to share this technology, we have to also police it.
Yeah.
We're the world superpower. We're the ones that have it. If you utilize this technology in the wrong way, there's a problem. That's why on November 21st, I'm pretty sure it's November 21st of 2017, right when I'm in the middle of the Las Vegas investigation, I'm doing that. I'm sitting up, blah, 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 it was November 17th when I got the call. But November 21st, you should see somewhere where Trump said something to someone. And then on the 22nd, he probably said another thing. And then if you look at Trump's schedule, you'll see he went dark, like I go dark. He went dark. And then sometime in December, I don't remember the date that those videos were released, but I think Lewis had enough and decided that, okay, well, let's let this go. And no one in the Department of Defense, so the Department of Defense released the video. And it's out there. And the Air Force was laughing their ass off because, it was an Air Force thing, Air Force screwing with the Navy, and that's not knowledge that's generally known, but that's what happened. And it was like, if you're going to test your technology to see if another country has the ability to detect your technology, why in the world would you send these objects over to China or Russia or North Korea or anywhere else for that matter? No, you're not going to do that. So you send them up.
The last thing you want to do is take the chance that it gets shot down.
Yeah, right, exactly. So you send them up the coast of Florida, up to Jacksonville.
Yeah, at least at that point, if it gets shot down, it's in your own water.
Right.
You have salvage rights.
Yeah. So, that's where I got to leave that part.
Yeah. We'll just leave that in the water right there off the coast of Florida.
Yeah, exactly. We'll leave that there. So you guys, you research whatever you want. I laid some hints down, some other stuff, and some people hate when I do that. But there's also, I've given some information that's going to point people in the right direction. And the end game is this. You test the technology on yourself and your own military forces to see if we can actually see this. And we were able to. The Princeton was able to see it. And we were like, wow, okay. We've now tested it since then, and the Princeton can't see it.
Yeah. Okay. There's a reason why they have started flying observation blimps over America.
Uh-huh.
There is a reason why civilians have started suing the government in the Midwest because there are maneuvers going on over major cities.
Right.
There's a reason why these things are happening, and it's soft disclosure. It's soft disclosure coming out.
And each SD has a level. You have SD, SD1, SD2, SD3, and so forth on up the list. And what you're looking at is the level of disclosure to certain areas. So what I'm doing right now, I'm not paid by the government to do this or say this. I was just simply told that, hey, this is coming out. If something happens, you can talk about this. So this information has come out. But what I wanted to do was give some other, because people are running around with all kinds of these outlandish ideas.
Yeah.
Some of these absurd. Some of them are targeted, and then you see someone going, okay, now what we're going to talk about today is anti-gravity and how this could probably play out, some patents and some this, and why would the Navy have a patent? Well, what the Navy patent has no patent.
Navy doesn't hold the patent.
No, it can't. It can't.
Yeah.
So these patents are all over the map, and then you have these universities that also have varying technologies, and this has to get into the private sector at some point.
Yeah.
At some point, the private sector is where the technology has to go, because the government doesn't have the United States Acme Missile Manufacturing Company. Okay?
Nope.
It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So Wile E. Coyote is out there waiting for the
can't
Acme
exist.
Company. Yeah, it can't. So since we have to utilize the private sector to build these things, there's another problem that you have is that, hey, we might as well just let people know that this is happening and stop with the BS of all of the secrecy, because now we are at a point, we have achieved this point in time in our history. And this is what's going to happen over the next 2 years. More of this technology is going to be revealed. Now, here's the problem. When it was revealed in 2017, it went out there and everybody went, oh, that's cute. And then nothing more about it.
Yep.
And everybody's going, well, that didn't work as planned.
Yeah.
We put out videos of UFOs like we were ordered, sir, and no one seems to give a shit. That's right. Because they don't believe they're UFOs, dumbass. So if you want a UFO, you need to land one in the middle of, whatever park and go out and ask for a glass of water, and maybe people will believe you.
Yeah, well, like people have said for years, I'll believe it when one lands on the White House lawn. It would never make it that far. It would be the new Battle of L.A., dude. There would be searchlights and fireworks everywhere.
You're not going to have an inside joke with what you just said for a long time.
Yeah.
Anyway, so fast forward a little bit now, and this is not to belabor a point, but the technology has to be revealed to the public. The public has to accept it, because you're going to start seeing these technologies trickle out into other areas where they're needed.
Yeah,
technology is needed. So you're going to see Tesla. You're going to see SpaceX. You're going to see all of these emerging companies that somehow their technologies are rapidly progressing way faster than they should. Who the hell would have thought 10 years ago we would be landing these rockets back on Earth? So the technology doesn't seem so bad when we look at drones.
Yeah.
Drones seem to go up and go down and come back, and you can press a button and they'll do their thing and they come back and land on their own. Why can't we do rockets? I mean, why not, right? Well, it's going to be even better. And so Elon Musk and all these other, Jeff Bezos and all these different guys around the world that have the money and the technology and the drive and the motivation to get this stuff out there in a way that we can utilize it to the better good of humankind is what's going to happen in the United States. It's at the forefront of it, and we slap everybody else in the face and say, hey, we're doing this. Don't mess with it. If you do one thing wrong, you're going to see what we can do.
Yeah.
And that's why...
Yeah, if you think that we were ahead on the atomic bomb.
Yeah.
Which we really weren't.
Because on the atomic bomb, we only had two. That was the biggest flop in history. So we were going to say, okay, hey, Japan, hey, how y'all done today? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, we would like for y'all to go down to the beach and just kind of look. We're just going to do a test of technology so you can see something.
Yeah.
And that was what they were going to do. We
got a little show for you.
Yeah, we're going to put on a little fireworks show for you, and then they realized that isn't. The Japanese people were not people that would fall for that, you know, and the bad other end of the spectrum was, well, the only other option is to actually do it, and that's what they did. They had two competing bombs then. Now, keep in mind, those two bombs were very different. Yep. The Enola Gay had some different looking bombs on board. But all we had was two. That was really all we had.
That's it.
That's it. That was the biggest bluff in history right there. But.
Yeah. And, and like we were saying earlier, that project, Trinity, was classified and there were parts of it that were classified up until just a few years ago.
Parts of it still classified.
Parts of it's still classified today.
Yep, exactly. And the people had problems with it. I mean, when you sit there and you're Oppenheimer or you're even Einstein and all these different people that have play in that, the back of your mind, you've got some serious issues, but they also saw the good of the technology too. Otherwise, they would not have even moved an inch forward with the project. And
sure. Yeah, and I mean the applications for energy, the applications for all kinds of stuff come
just
into
so everybody
play.
knows, the government isn't all bad. I don't work for the government. I'm not even a poster child, but they're not all bad. Some of the stuff is coming out pretty badass, pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And are there some nefarious people in there? Sure. But it's not all horrible. I have faith in that. And I do I think that we definitely have some reverse engineered technology? Sure. I'm not going to deny that.
I can't confirm it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like the show. Remember the CBS show where they had these two competing reporters where they would look at each other and they would say, "Well, I believe and I believe this and I believe that," blah blah blah, and then they would look at each other and then they would look at the camera and go, "But we're happy together."
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that's going to be revealed that. I'm just going to say it. Truth is stranger than fiction, folks. You're going to see some crazy stuff come out that some people's imaginations won't be able to wrap around. It's going to be that bizarre.
Yeah.
That bizarre. And I'll tell you another one. You need to explore new forms of life.
Yep.
New forms of life.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, and
if things are going extinct, you bet your ass things are being created.
Yeah. Oh man. On that note, thank you so much for coming on such short notice, especially with everything going on right now. Thank you so much for taking the time, Mike, to come on, talk about this. Do you advise people to go out to Area 51 and just
Area 51? Go to that area and see it. If you've already planned your trip, go there. No one's going to stop you. I'm going to tell you this. There's going to be a lot of activity as far as...
Don't go touching fences.
Keep in mind, and Maddie... Shit, I said his name. Oh, well. Okay, so...
There's a million people in the world with that name.
Yeah, there are. All of the events, all of them, are effectively kind of canceled.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be a concert. There's not going to be a lot of these things. And this isn't the government shutting it down. This is just simply a matter of logistics and funding and stuff like this. But there's an alternative. Go to Las Vegas. There's going to be an event in Las Vegas that actually is going to continue to go on and is going to happen. Now, there's still going to be a bunch of people going out to Area 51. There's a lot of tours to take people to Area 51. These people need to make a living.
Oh.
So go take these tours.
Yeah.
There's some great people that do those tours, one of which I spoke to a while back. He doesn't even know if he needed to talk. And actually, I pranked out him with a prank caller.
Well.
And he did. And so then I called him back, and he said, "Did you just call me?" I was like, No. Why? But anyway.
Well, I'll tell you right now, there were security call-outs for the shows that I'm on right now.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. And I've same way that you sent me things. I can't tell who sent me things, but It's like, it was, there are 250,000 people coming into town. Be prepared for possible active shooter situations.
And
all kinds of stuff.
Back into another realm again, obviously a realm I'm not familiar with, but go out there with peaceful intentions. Go out there to have fun. Don't go out there to get drunk and get stupid. I can tell you this: get drunk and stupid in Rachel, you're not going to like it, because there are no gas stations at Rachel. There are very few facilities out there. Everything has to be trucked in for this type of an event. I'm going to guess. I'm going to give you a number. I'm going to guess that between 2,500 and 4,000 cops will actually show up. Somewhere in that range.
Okay.
And that's off the top of my head kind of number, but based on seeing some other numbers bounce around, so I'm not going to take credit for it completely. I'm looking at other people's numbers and going, well, that one looks accurate. This one over here, this 500,000 million is not going to happen. But the other numbers that are being bounced around, I don't think it's going to be over. I think 20,000 would be like a ridiculous way top end of the spectrum.
That would be my top end of anything that actively shows up out there. Would be 20,000 people.
There you go. Yeah, it'd be the same. Because this borderline's like a flash mob Burning Man event. I mean, this is kind of like I mean, as stupid as that sounds, it's kind of like a flash mob. We're going to go do this, but it's obviously a flash mob that was done like a month ago. And so September 20th is the date, folks. Just go enjoy yourselves. If you go to Rachel, spend some money there. Go buy some gifts and stuff. Keep these people busy. There's a bunch of shirts and stuff like that. The Extra Tusto Highway. Get your pictures by that. But go back to Vegas and enjoy the time there too. Please, whatever you do, don't go to the base. And I'm going to tell you why. If anyone goes to that base and cross that line, there are P1, P2, P3. It's perimeter 1, perimeter 2, perimeter 3. And this is never been revealed to the public, but I will reveal it. On the P1 penetration, when you go into a P1 area, you're going to be picked up and you're going to be monitored. If you go to P2, then that is the beginning of the active countermeasures necessary to prevent you from going further. Active countermeasures.
Yeah.
They're my words. Those active countermeasures can be and can include LRAD. They can include various types of gases. They can include concussion type devices that are new that they want to test. So if you want to go out and be part of that, but I can tell you, you're not going to like the feeling. You may have some broken ribs from that thing. Yeah. Don't do that. Once you get to P3, you probably aren't going to be going anywhere. Yeah. Either A, you're going to be taken in, or B, you're just going to be killed. They don't play around with this base. This is not a base to go playing games with. These people take their livelihoods seriously, and they take the security of this base seriously. This is one of the highest security bases in the world. Not the highest by no means.
No.
Not even the top 10, to be honest with you. But it is up there, and this base will be protected, even though it's a very wide base. Do not fly any drones over this area, because there's a new technology that might be slipped into the drones that you may not be aware of. At first, you may hear this for the first time. I don't know if you know it. But if there's transponders on planes, that's your ass. But if your device is communicating with your phone,
oh yeah, they got you, bro. They got you,
bro. They got you, bro. Because if your device, if you're using a DJI product,
if you didn't like buy that drone from a dude in the back of a van with cash,
it doesn't even matter with that. if you're, and I say DJI because it's already dialed in.
Yeah.
But if your device is talking to any other device, especially a phone, which is why I go phone.
Yeah.
If you've got an old style remote and you're not using FPV goggles and stuff, you might be okay. But if you're using a phone and your phone is connected to your drone, you got a problem. They will find you. They will know who you are, because you've probably already seen this, where actually the department of whoever shows up at your door and gives you a ticket for flying your drone in an area you weren't supposed to be flying, and you're wondering, how the hell do they know? No, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Because I got like 8 drones in here with me right now. I'm like trying to figure out which one I want to fly out there instead of which one do I know how to disconnect anything that could find it. I'm like going, I ain't got shit. I ain't got a damn thing. Give me a Tic-Tac, damn it. Give me a Tic-Tac. Give me a gimbal. I want a gimbal and a Tic-Tac.
Yeah.
And a remote control. I'm going to get Chris one. I'm going to have one with your Dream Peters and see how well we can fly these damn things.
Well, once again, Michael, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your wealth and realm of knowledge with all of this, for demystifying the whole situation with Area 51. There are amazing things going on out there. We'll definitely be following up with you, not just with this, but with other things. Let everybody know where they can go to find your work with 5x5 News, everything else. Where can they find you online? Where can they follow you online?
Okay. If you need to reach out to me for any reason to verify information, whatever, you can simply send it to 5x5news at protonmail.com. 5x5news at protonmail.com. It's 5x5, just like a 4x4 truck, 5x5 news. The website is being rebuilt, so it's down right now, but that would be 5x5news.com. And also my predominant platform at the moment is actually YouTube. You can go to YouTube and just simply search for my name, Mike Turber, or 5x5 News, 5x5 News, and you'll find all kinds of stories. Predominantly right now it's on Las Vegas, but I also covered Dayton and some of the other mass shootings, and I normally come up with some of evidence and things that just are not able to be gotten by the MSM. So if you're looking for mainstream media type reporting, you're not going to find it with me. You're going to find a one-man band out there digging in the trenches and coming up with information that no one else seems to be able to find.
Yeah, you were the first one to really come out and say that the body of Stephen Paddock had been moved at Mandalay Bay. That came out later. I know you were in close contact still with Eric Paddock, the brother. We've got to have you on to do a Mandalay update soon, as that anniversary approaches. So
exactly, I'll be more than happy to do that. I'll be in Florida probably for a bit, and then I'll be in Vegas, I believe, sometime around the 25th, 28th, or whatever. So if anyone's there and they want to meet me or what have you, or learn about some of the things that happened there, like direct firsthand.
Of September or October?
October.
Okay.
Oh, I'll be there at the end of this month. So around the 25th of this month is when I should be back over there.
Ooh.
So before the October 1 anniversary, I'll be there, and through the anniversary, and I should.
Oh well, let's definitely keep in touch over the next little bit, then, my friend.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Chris, I greatly appreciate you having me on the show. It's always fun doing your show. It's always subjects that are near and dear to my heart, and that areas that I wish other places explored more deeply, and I wish other reporters were as knowledgeable as you are. You surprise me absolutely each and every time I come on your show, because you'll say something, I'm like, oh, wow, this guy actually... He knows he's going to keep me on my toes over here. So I appreciate that. I really do.
I try. I mean, I'm not going to say that I've dedicated my life to it, but I mean, when I'm into a topic, I dive deep. My rabbit holes are all over the place, man.
Me both.
Because
even with my knowledge and my experience and having been former this and former that, I still, because I don't have access to everything I used to have access to anymore, I've still got some fingers in the pipeline. But I still find myself in rabbit holes, and I'm down there, and there's carrots, and there's full-on Hassenpfeffer over in the corner.
Oh, yeah.
And all of this stuff. I'm like, oh, man, what did I do? I'm going to be stuck down here. And I have a person that follows me around. He's like my little stalker, and his name is Thumper. And so, literally Thumper. I'm like, what? Are you this info?
Oh, that's just a creepy name, dude.
It is Thumper. And I was like, oh my God, if this is not somebody saying, hey, Turber, look at me.
Too much. Well,
he'll love I gave him a shout out. He'll probably freak out because he's like my arch nemesis now. But at the same time, he's there. He's like, oh my God, it's so tremendous.
Too funny. Yeah.
Well, again, I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime. Please do hold the line while we close things out.
Sure.
While you're online checking out Mike Turber, all of his great work with 5x5 News, make sure to stop on by dudesandbeer.com, everybody. That is where you can find the episodes. That's where you can find the Knowledge Vault. I'll be adding some new documents to that just in relation to what we're talking about. I'll try and find some good stuff on Have Blue, things like that, to be able to add to it. But it's all downloadable PDFs. HARP is in there. All kinds of stuff, all kinds of documents, patents of Nikola Tesla, all kinds of fun stuff. Make sure to download the episodes. Follow us on the HC Universal Network. Congratulations to Scary Dad, one of our network brothers out there, getting ready to do Scary Dad Con for the third year coming up. Take care, guys. If you're in the Houston area, make sure to go check that out. Thank you so much to our guest Mike Turber once again for coming on. As always, while you're online checking all that out, make sure to stop on by AmazonTrial.com /dudes. Get your 30 days free of Amazon's Audible. Till next time, everybody, take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and remember, you can't be good at it. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Dudes and Beer Podcast. To listen to our audio streams or chat with us live, download the official Dudes and Beer app for Android and iDevices, available on Google Play and iTunes markets. For more episodes, content, and information, visit us online at dudesandbeer.com. You can also find our episodes on Breach.tv, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast service. Dudes and Beer is a proud member of the HC Universal Network family of podcasts. For more about our sponsors and other podcasts on this network, visit hcuniversalnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, everybody, and until next time, drink responsibly.